Hi and welcome to the second episode of Covertape Chaos, the series where I take a look at free tapes that came stuck to the front of C64 magazines like Zap and Commodore Format. We're sticking with Commodore Format for now, and it's time to explore what issue 2 had to offer. When I went looking for a cover image for Pigtails, I couldn't find any trace of its existence on the internet until I discovered that it is actually a game called Oink that has been renamed for whatever reason. I'm unfamiliar with the Oink comic that inspired this game, but as far as I can tell it's basically a PG version of Viz. The main aim of the game is to put together the latest issue of the magazine by earning comic panels from performing well in one of 3 minigames. So far so good. The problem is that the minigames are absolute shite, as well as the rest of the game to be honest. First of all, there's Pete's Pimple, which is an incredibly simple Arkanoid clone, or rather Crackout clone, as the bat and ball action takes place on its side. The graphics are grey and boring, the sound is atrocious, and the controls are piss poor. Things do not get any better from here on. Next up is a horizontal shooter named Rubbish Man, where you can move your superhero character left and right, shoot, and raise or lower the elevation of him. The trouble is that it's incredibly hard to gauge how high you are in relation to the objects in the background, and should even one pixel collide with something bad, your ass is toast. Very annoying. Finally there's Tom Thug, where you control a little droid thingy and have to avoid the enemies, some of which can be killed and others that can only be stunned, while chipping away at blocks to try and find the exit to the next screen. It's not fun, it's bollocks, just like the rest of this game. Not a great start to this tape then. Escape from Zol is another game with a misleading name. It turns out that this is one scenario taken from the Lords of Chaos game, a turn-based fantasy strategy game designed by Julian Gollop of Laser Squad, Rebel Star Raiders and XCOM fame. The game is incredibly deep and the interface is not the most user-friendly of things, but if you have the time to dedicate to it, you will discover an engrossing gameplay despite the aged visuals. Make sure you read through the instructions that came with the magazine beforehand to get the gist of what you're supposed to be doing, or you won't even be able to move out of the first room. I remember picking this game up as my free gift for subscribing to the magazine after the rave reviews, and being completely confused as to what I was supposed to do. I guess I didn't have the patience for manuals back then. So the game sat in my collection for years, and every so often I would pick it up, look at it, maybe even load it up and get stuck on the first screen before putting it away again. Maybe now, after years of playing games and with far more patience, I can finally defeat this demo scenario. I'll spend some more time with it and let you know. Well, what can I say? It's Pac-Man, innit? And a pretty basic version of it too. Now, I'm no Billy Mitchell, so I can't tell you whether the game uses the proper patterns of the Namco original, or if it is exactly what it seems, a cheap knockoff. It's definitely not the worst version of the game I've ever seen. The Atari 2600 version still takes that crown, but it's not exactly going to set your pants on fire with excitement. This is basically a top-down, vastly simplified version of Elite, where you fly a little spaceship around various star systems, completing missions for the titular Empire, and finding goods to trade at space stations. The controls are actually quite intuitive once you've memorised the buttons that extend and retract your grabbing arm, and the ones for the system galactic maps. It's nowhere near as sophisticated as Elite though, or crucially as fun. It's the game that I enjoyed the most on this particular cover tape, but that's not really saying much. So there you have it, another tape that's not that great overall. They do definitely start to improve with the next one though, so be sure to keep a lookout for episode 3.